to see all the things that I could be. That's what you're doing to me. Now I'm free. You lift me up when I was down and out.
Well, they call this the Lucky 7. Welcome, everybody, to Granted Radio. This is episode 7. I don't know if there's going to be a lucky or probably the worst interview, and that would be my fault because I've probably got the best band in Southern California right here with me today.
Probably.
Or tonight, actually. Okay, most definitely.
Sorry,
All right, let's start this thing over. Hold on a second. Okay, tell you.
your turn.
No respect. If you hit, if you hit a 7 on craps, people are going to be like, oh, you probably won.
Happy.
He doesn't have a catchphrase. He has a catch cough.
I don't know if this is going to be lucky or not. It's going to be damn good.
No.
That's going to be my interview answers. Watch. What's your name?
Oh, my God.
Do the Ace Philly.
There's so much meaning behind this. Aha. All right. Happy Sunday, everybody. You're listening to Granted Radio. We are on episode 7, and it's a very special episode. My name is Emo Aladdin. I'm with Granted Radio. I'm also with Granted Records, who's hosting this awesome podcast. Who do we have with here tonight? We've got a Southern Californian rock band. They've been around. They've been all over the place, and they have done pretty much it all. And we're very lucky to have them in the studio today. They're actually fully set up, full band. So this is a first we've had where a full band gets to perform here. So I would like to introduce you all to the one and only Swirl. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on?
What's happening, guys?
Thanks for having us.
Hey, man, thanks for what? I mean, some of you guys came from the east, some of you guys came from the north. Let's kind of go around the room and introduce ourselves so we know who's who.
Hi, I'm Alfred Ramirez, vocalist. I live in Los Angeles. Thanks for having me, Emo.
I am D.T. Jones, guitar player out of Southern California down in Temecula, wine country. That was a wine cough.
Love it.
This is Brian Bam Bam Jones. I'm on drums, and I'm also in Temecula, California.
Shane Carlson, bass guitar. I came from LA.
Love it. Welcome, guys. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, brother. It's
good
been
to
too
be
damn
here.
long. Every time we get together, we always say the same thing. It's been too damn long, man.
It's nuts, man. It's nuts, but time flies, and you guys have been doing a lot in the few months since we parted in parentheses ways since October, and right now we just started June. But before we get into what's going on currently, I'd love to introduce the listeners to you guys. So why don't we kind of take a trip down memory lane, and first, so we'll kind of go around the room. Alfred, I know you said you live in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Is that where you were born?
Yeah, actually, I was born in downtown, White Memorial, Los Angeles, California.
No kidding.
Yeah, born and raised, and kind of moved to the outskirts, but always stayed, primarily in the LA area.
And then you've always stayed in LA. You've never lived anywhere else.
Pretty close to LA. Always LA, but then I lived in the Valley. Then I lived out in Santa Monica. Then So
Yeah, but always
but
Southern
technically
California.
It's all LA. Yeah.
That's cool. When did you know you had the voice?
I was usually, I had a lot of friends that were musicians, and they were always playing and jamming. So, they would always have me sing a song, and even though I wasn't part of their band, they'd have parties, get-togethers, and then pretty soon enough they started having me come out and sing more, and then I just started singing more with different groups. And
Do you like singing? So did you always know you can sing the high stuff?
Yeah, kind of, sort of, because, I was a shower singer, but I didn't know, if I was, how good I was or anything like that, or behind closed doors, or,
Yeah.
so.
Never had like formal training with like choirs or anything like that?
After that, spending time with a bunch of friends and their bands and stuff, then I go, well, they start saying, hey, you have, a good instrument, you should, work on it. So
Yeah.
I did take, at East LA College, I took some voice lessons. I sang with the men's ensemble choir, and so it went from there.
That's good. And then you've always been in rock bands, or did you ever like get into like any sort of other alternate genres?
I listen to everything, but as far as just playing, I think I've just done, rock and kind of singer-songwriter stuff,
Well, you've got the rock voice, man.
Thank you.
It's one thing to be able to sing, but it's another thing to be able to have that rock tone.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. It's
It comes from the inside.
Does it though? I
Yeah.
mean, when you write your melodies and you write your lyrics, where do they come from?
They just come. I've never had a problem coming up with melodies. I come up with melodies like that. In fact, to practice, like I'll hear someone else's song.
Yeah.
It could be anywhere. It could be a radio station or a band playing, and while the band's playing, I'll kind of like take the vocalist out of it and put my own melody within that person's song.
He'll basically
You're-
say, I could do that better.
You're able to do that,
Yeah.
huh? I mean, it's one thing to be able to add something to it, but to be able to subtract something while adding to it is something else
So,
entirely.
And I'll put like a certain melody, and I've always been, just there's no, I don't have an explanation for it. It's just something that comes,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they say the music comes from the soul, so that's
Yeah.
probably where it comes from.
And they say it's the language of the soul too.
Yeah. So I heard you guys practicing before we got started, and I was shocked to hear Shane, dude, you actually have a pretty awesome high register, man. I was pleasantly surprised to hear that.
Dude, it's like years of them telling me to tone it down.
To tone it down?
That's
Dude,
known as
no.
castrata.
Oh, fuck. Seriously? You had to go there? Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Have you had training?
No.
Never had a
Well,
training.
okay, scratch that. My dad's like my music teacher, basically.
Yeah.
He's a musician and he's a music teacher, and he got his master's in something, but his thesis was 17th century Scottish music.
What?
And and so he was basically the catalyst for me becoming a musician was that he's a church organist and he's a piano player, and he used to play in bars back in the day when he was young, and him and 3 other guys would get together and they do vocal quartets in bars and stuff, make beer money
Yeah.
for that stuff. And so when I was growing up and I'd see him doing where he tells me stories that when I was a little kid, I would just start going when whatever he was playing, I'd just be doing
Mimic it, yeah.
mimicking or just playing along, trying to find whatever note he was playing, I was doing it, and that just kind of started him to kind of train me.
Yeah, focus
So,
on your
yeah,
actual
and
instrument.
the exercises about singing from the diaphragm and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can call that training.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I've got an ear for it, and it's actually tonally, like sound. It's perfect for backup vocals, and especially for what you guys are doing. Vocals are a very big part of what you guys sound like.
See what he did there? He said it's perfect for backing vocals.
Hey, man, don't downplay.
Don't quit your day job.
Don't downplay backing vocals, man.
No,
I mean,
it's
yeah.
really cool. This is the first band that I've been in where the entire band, I think, understands the importance of sonically that full vocal sound.
Totally.
So
Oh yeah.
having gone out on the road and seeing as many bands as we have when we go out just to see bands and when we play with bands,
Yeah.
that's what you always see. You always see like one person singing,
Uh-huh.
and if there's anything in the background, it's always everyone going, one word stuff. Where I'm going. Yeah, we're going out there and we're like in the back room and we're like, okay, let's do that chorus. Ready, 1, 2, and then
I love it.
we're just working on the melodies and the harmonies together, so that when we go out there, just about every song that we play has
A vocal arrangement.
has vocal arrangements for choruses and all sorts of stuff. And then even we are 4th of July, at the end of 4th of July, we've got on vocal. It's layers. It's not all of us. Exactly. It's like 3 different parts. It's not just one person singing, 3 people singing the same thing. It's
Right.
Al's doing one thing, Dwayne's doing another thing, I'm doing another thing, and it just comes together and it sounds really good.
Who does that, man, these days?
Swirl, baby. Swirl
Yeah.
does it.
Well, let me
Bringing it back.
Let me ask you instrumentally though. I mean, did you fall into bass, or did you consciously decide I want to be a bass player?
My parents told me that if I wanted to play guitar, I had to learn on bass first.
Okay.
If you really want to play guitar, because I grew up on Kirk Hammett and James Hetfield,
Uh-huh.
people shredding and Jakey Lee and all that stuff, and I was like, I want to do that. And
For
I'm like,
those
well, if
kids
you wanna do
listening,
that-
please explain who those people are.
Fuck.
Hey, man,
Really?
it's
Is that what it
2018.
is?
You never
All right,
know.
well, boys and girls, Kirk
What is a
Hammett
guitar?
and James Hetfield are in a little tiny unknown band called Metallica. Jakey Lee, I know Jakey Lee from Ozzy Osbourne, and that's it. But Dwayne over there is going to talk about some other bands that he's in and all sorts of stuff. I know him from 2 kick-ass albums. But, you'd see that. My brother was a big metalhead, got me into metal.
Yeah.
And so I'd be watching Iron Maiden videos and Ozzy Osbourne videos and Metallica videos, and I'm like, I want to do that. My parents said, if you want to learn it, first you have to learn bass.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I
It's
just
an
kept-
interesting take. Who decide? I mean, that makes sense to a lot of musicians, but to be able to convince somebody that that's truly the thing to do. Most people play guitar, learn guitar, figure out that they can't join any band because they suck on guitar, so they will retract and just be the bass player. But you
That's just how I fell into it. I started playing bass, and then I'd be playing bass with my dad, and so my dad would do all the high parts on the piano, and I
Yeah.
just started falling into that groove, and then I started hanging out with drummers, and I started like loving just that thump and that kick,
Yeah.
and just the beat and get. I like doing the part that makes everybody bounce. I like doing that part, and then when I started getting into Korn, and then you saw like in the '90s, you saw like these sea of people just bouncing to whatever the beat was. I was like, that's what I got to be doing.
Yeah, because you're a huge part of that. It is the bass that gets people to dance, and you've got the groove, man. I mean, I had the
Thanks,
pleasure
man.
of working with you in the
Yeah.
studio, and you don't play just the chord progressions, man. You got these great walking bass lines that are very interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll plug emo because that was a great experience recording and
That
working
was
with you.
fun, dude.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Bam Bam, Brian Jones, man.
Yes.
Can I just say before I ask you any question, just what I experienced with Bam Bam when we had Swirl in the studio, dude, you are definitely a one-take wonder. You came in, you didn't even need a practice take. The only thing you were waiting for was the studio to get set up so that we had the sound right. But as soon as we hit record, man, it was one take and that's it. And that was incredible, man. Was that just a fluke? Was that or is that typically how you work?
No, man. I spend a lot of time away from the band practicing the parts. I am constantly playing. I think some of that has to do with the fact that I do teach drums as well, and so I'm just throughout the day. I'm always doing drums, and kind of like Shane said, where he's got that kind of rhythm, that vibe, always kind of going through. That's how I am as a drummer. So. It's always easy to spot the drummer in the room because the drummer's always moving. There's something tapping, whether it's his foot or something. There's always something going on.
Do you have a kit in your house that you? No kidding.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So what's that like? I mean, does that drive the neighbors nuts or?
As a matter of fact, no. It's great because the neighbors will actually come out and stand in. I live in a cul-de-sac, and they'll come out in the cul-de-sac and they'll just listen.
What?
So no, it's actually really, really cool.
That's
So-
very rare. You get such
no,
support.
it's very rare. I mean, the very first time that it happened, I had my daughter came in and said, "Hey, there's a bunch of people in the cul-de-sac while you're drumming right now." I'm like, "Oh, well, I guess the cops are coming." And they go, "No, it doesn't. No, they're just listening." And I go, "Are you serious?" And so I got out from behind the kit, went outside. And I'm like, "Is everything okay?" They're all, "What are you doing out here? We're just listening."
Oh
And
my
I was
God.
like, "Are you serious?" And they said, "Yeah." They go, "Please, man, play away. We have a drummer who lives behind you, but it doesn't sound like that." So-
They had something to compare it to.
Yeah, so it was very cool.
So do you have music blaring at the same time, or are they listening to just like a 20-minute drum solo?
Oh no, it's just drums. It's
Yeah.
just drums. I mean, I have stuff going on in my headphones that I'm listening.
But they
to
can't hear
I'm-
that.
But they can't hear that. So no, it's just drums.
So that's a testament to you, man. I mean, you do have a very interesting style, and it isn't just like your cookie cutter kind of. I mean, you are pocket, but you throw some interesting stuff in there, man.
Oh man, thank you. That's very cool.
Who do you take after? Who was the catalyst to get you started?
Well, easily for me, the guy that I kind of branch everything off of is the king for me, which is Buddy Rich. So.
For those little kids,
Buddy Rich, bottom line, the best, in my opinion, the best
Beast.
jazz drummer that ever lived.
Jazz.
So Buddy is just, he was phenomenal. And his sticking, his foot control, he did things with his foot, single foot, that double bass players still can't do today.
That's crazy.
So, and then, the showmanship and for anybody who knows what drumming is, and you do a buzz roll, and it was a really, really tight roll on a snare drum that you hear a lot in marching band, and, you see people, and they've got two hands, and they're flying, doing that stuff. Well, Buddy was notorious for taking two hands and doing that, and then all of a sudden he'd just take one away and put it behind his back, and it's still the exact same speed.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, that's unbelievable. So it was remarkable. So, he got me into it, but, from the rock world itself and drumming, I mean, by far it was Neil Peart. So,
Oh yeah.
Neil's everything to me. I studied Neil like crazy. So, I mean, there's so many different drummers. Ironically enough, it's actually a very, very funny story. My sister actually tried to bring Rush to me And she was like, "You've got to hear this band," and I refused to listen to them because I was just a diehard Kiss fan.
Wow.
And so I was like, "No, I want nothing to do with this." And so, needless to say, she tried to show me this, and I'm like, "I no, And so the next thing you know, my good friend Marcus introduced me to Rush and introduced me to an album called Hemispheres.
Okay.
And when he introduced me to that album, I was blown away by it and thought it was amazing and said, "Wow, this is the best thing I've ever heard." And I sat there and kept listening to it, and I'll never forget it because I walked in the door to my house and I said to my sister, I said, "Angie, check this out. There's this album. It's by Rush. It's called Hemisphere." She's like, "You dumbass. I was trying to show you Subdivisions a long time ago." I'm like, "Oh, that's the same band?" And she goes, "Yeah, it's the same band." I'm like, "Oh, well." She goes, "I tried to show you this." I was like, "Oh, okay." Well,
Cool sister.
No, man, it was really cool. But
So, have you ever sat down and like kind of like how us, guitarists and singers will like sing a cover? Would you ever do like a drum cover of a Rush song?
Oh yeah, big time. As a matter of fact, for years, I mean, I studied Neil like crazy, and so I would play in a couple of different bands, and we did Rush covers. We did YYZ, and we did Limelight, and Spirit of the Radio, and Tom Sawyer, and all that stuff. So yeah, we did a lot of that. But ironically enough, for me personally, I mean, a lot of drummers go back and they'll grab a lot of the things that Rush did in the 70s and in the 80s.
Yeah.
But for me, there's a song by Rush called Bravado that I just personally believe is the best drumming Neil has ever done. And so I worked on that song for a very long time, and that song took me forever to learn, to get the actual intricate part that he plays at the end of it.
It's some pretty intricate stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
Do you guys ever cover Rush's Swirl?
Covers.
No, nothing but original.
No covers
There
for
will be
Swirl?
None of that.
Dwayne, would you like to tell the story about when I asked if we could do a cover?
Let's hear it.
I
Do it.
believe it was "Fuck No." And
Most of my stories go like that. Although I will say this much, there's a couple things that in the conversation you just had with Brian. There's one thing I learned that just now, and I'm like, hey, our sister's an integral part of the story of our musical being, and she's really, I guess, adept at knowing who needs what.
Yeah.
Because I just learned that Angie tried to bring Rush to Brian, and he rejected it at the time. Whereas she brought me a recording called "Out of the Cellar," and I hated it. I was like, "This is."
What was so bad about it?
I was like, "This is the guitar." I didn't like the guitar playing. I couldn't stand the vocals. I was like, "This isn't working for me at all."
Yeah.
But ask me who my favorite rock band of the '80s was, and lo and behold, it was Rat, and their debut was "Out of the Cellar." That's the way. That's the recording she brought me.
So for the listeners that haven't picked up on this, you share the same sister because you guys are brothers.
Yes.
Yeah.
crazy how that
And
works.
we're related too.
Yes, and
It's a thing.
So who's the older brother? I mean, I know.
Oh, okay.
as long as you know.
We're gonna let people figure that out on the road.
Is it obvious to you guys? I mean, do they act like the older and the younger brother, or is it hard to tell the difference between the two if you guys didn't know?
I thought they were twins.
Yeah.
Well, that's because we all look alike.
Pretty much. That's what they say.
Well, because the
No,
reason why I ask, I mean, as far as my younger brother acts older than I do. I act like a complete child. So a lot of people are like, wait a minute, you're older than this
Well,
guy?
then
Emo, we're all musicians. We all act like children. I don't want to play that. I don't want to do this. Oh, yeah.
I'm not loud enough.
I'm not going on until 9 until I get my.
So, the other Brian-related story, you touched on it a little bit when you talked about the recording session that we did here.
Yeah.
I think I told you about this one because this was a studio session that we did in another location out in Wildemar. Required 2 studios to do it, and the great thing about it, we did a 5-song EP, so it's self-titled, Swirl EP. And 3 of the songs ended up in a movie called Ditch Day and all that good stuff. It's
Cool.
out now, and that's all well and good. But we're going to do the recordings, Brian schedules a session to go and track the drums.
Yeah.
And I remember getting a call from the producer at the studio, and he's like, "What time are you coming down?" What are you talking about? Well, Brian's tracking drums. Are you and Shane coming down to play along? Yes. No. And he doesn't talk much about it, but this is something that is very impressive to drummers, musicians, whatever. He tracked all the songs without the band there. And the great thing is, I remember talking to the engineer who did the sessions. He was like, "You know what? We did it one time, and I said something wasn't right, so we need to go back and do it again."
Mm-hmm.
Every fill, every hit, exactly the same, to the point where he asked him if he had even bothered to play the second time around.
Oh my God.
That's how much preparedness Brian brings to the table, which is a big part of why we sound the way we do, and why I
What a
have no
rock.
problem saying, look, there's all kinds of personality, there's all kinds of energy, there's all kinds of, there's business savvy, there's this, there's that, and the other, but make no mistake about it, the foundation of this whole thing, Brian's the best musician in the band.
It's amazing.
I have no problem saying that, and it's all about, in my world anyway,
Yeah.
trying to make sure that I don't screw it up and I get my playing to his standard.
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, out of respect for what he does, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
for those listeners that don't get it, when you go in the studio, you need what's called a scratch track,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, most people do.
Yeah.
Most people do. And it
Probably
isn't
every
like-
band. Every band would.
And like you touched on, he's very much in the pocket. This is kind of the Brian moment of the interview session. He's very much in the pocket, but he's not playing your standard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go and listen, he's not playing for the sake of showing off, but it's just part of his personality.
Yeah, it's almost melodic.
And he tracks it that way, whether you're there or not.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of fun to work with somebody who has that kind of confidence and the skill set to go ahead and play that way.
Totally, because you can focus on your craft and not worry.
Which became apparent early on, because the thing Brian left out of the story about how we got started with this whole thing is he is a failed guitar player.
Oh, no kidding.
Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, very much so.
Because
So that was your first pick.
Yeah, well, basically, I just wanted to be Ace Frehley. Long story short, I wanted to be Ace Frehley.
So for those of our listeners that don't know who Ace Frehley is,
Google every name of everybody that we mentioned. Because if you're listening to this and you don't know Kiss, turn it off, Google, and then come back and listen. But, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm very much a failed drummer. I thought I was going to be playing drums to begin with, and that was what it was all about for me. I was like,
and then you guys made the switch.
because we heard each other play our respective first choices and went, all right, look, knock that shit off. You take this, and I'll take this, and we just promised to never do that around each other again. And it just kind of became a thing. I know that, interestingly enough, Shane said, for him just to get to play guitar, he had to learn to play bass.
Yeah.
Well, I started out on violin.
Huh.
And a buddy brought me a Kiss record. And I remember, I'll never forget, my dad, my parents had rented a violin for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And they're, and I'd stuck with it. And so finally at the point where they were like, you're sticking with this thing. I tell you what, let's go ahead and buy it. And I was like, right on. Yeah, let's do this, man. I love this. And then my buddy Paul shows up with a Kiss record. And I remember going upstairs.
There's no violins on this.
Well, and that was the thinking. That was the thinking at the time. And then I remember going upstairs and making the announcement that I was no longer a violinist. I was a guitar player. And
Yeah.
my dad was like, you're going to be the first guitar player without a guitar.
Yeah.
I just bought you that violin. So consequently, here, years later,
Yeah.
the success of the band and my own luck and determination and whatever you want to call it, my parents never bought a guitar, but yet there's like 20 plus guitars at the house because of sponsor that apparently I did it well enough that
Totally.
there's people that want to
Want you to play their
back me.
instruments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but it was one of those things. I mean, it's weird how it came together.
Would you, or when was the last time you ever picked up the violin?
Well, here's the thing. Father's gone now, but
Sorry to hear that.
they still have it.
Oh, they do?
So the last time I think the last time I touched the violin was in Reno. And it's that, not just a violin, that violin. It was, went to visit, and it was under the bed in the guest room.
You just pulled it out.
Just in case you ever decide you want to go back, because we own it now.
Just in case you want to throw a violin solo in your next record.
But that thing has traveled because, you talk to Alfred about, if he's always been here in Southern California. You know, I mean, look, I was born in Iowa.
Yeah.
Brian was born in Montana.
Oh, cool.
6 months after I was born, it was off to Okinawa because father was retired. Was military, was Air Force,
Wow.
and spent the bulk of our years being raised in Anchorage, Alaska.
Wow.
And so finally, all the kids graduated, and all that good stuff. And so mom was like, "All right, well, I'm out of this Alaska stuff. I got to go." So.
Well, coming from a military family, I mean, was there any pushback as far as your ambitions to pursue music?
No, that was the one thing that I tell people all the time is the hugest part about it. They allowed they were very real, about, look, here's your chances.
Yeah.
You need a fallback plan. And of course the argument was always, look, if I spend any ounce of effort on the fallback plan, then that's not effort that I'm putting towards the thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
And they were cautious, but supportive. Never, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. It'll never happen. And I'll never forget coming back to Alaska that first year after I ended up in the Charvel Jackson catalog as an artist with my sponsorship and picture and all that good stuff.
Amazing.
And that was a Christmas present for them. And they were like,
over the moon.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool how you described it as not strict or lenient, but more just realistic. They just let you know what the realities were.
Yeah.
I think that's something that most parents kind of forget about. They almost want to just scare somebody into deciding not to do it, but they just gave you the full picture.
Sure, and I think that's an important. I mean, I'm never going to try and tell anybody else how to parent, but I know for myself that's a big deal. Is I don't want to tell a kid you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can. Be realistic about your chances. Understand that if you want to do something that's a little out of the box, a little extraordinary, I guess, according to somebody else. Understand the amount of effort involved and be willing to put that time in.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do that, then yeah, you can accomplish it. But you got to get beyond talking about it and actually do the work. If you're willing to do the work, then you can do it. It's fine.
Being in a band is a lot of work.
Oh, it's a ton.
Yeah.
It's a ton.
I mean, we've had people that are in, actually, you're the first band that came in, and we've had artists come in, and it's hard enough trying to manage their own careers, but can you kind of describe how you kind of put this band together and what being in a band entails?
Well, at this point, look, this lineup is 10 years. I
Wow.
mean, and that's the thing that just kind of blows people away. I mean, it is a lot of work to find the right people and keep it together. It's a balancing act because you also have to know. I mean, we all have friends that have bands that you go and you see them and they're really excited and they're gung ho, and 6 months later there's a lineup change or they're out of that band. That band's broken up and all that good stuff.
Right.
So you really have to know when you have to be around each other, but you have to give each other enough space to get away from each other and do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an important part of how we've been able to make this work for 10 years. Because, I mean, look, we are, up until late April of this year, we were an unsigned band for 10 years. We self-managed, self-produced for the most part. We booked our own stuff and put ourselves out on tours and all that good stuff, and there's a lot that comes with that.
Dude,
and it ain't all.
That actually leads to another thing that I wanted to say was, the getting the right lineup together. You also have to make sure you know the people that you can be around as well, not just within the band, but outside of the band, because there was a time when we were out on tour, and the people that we were out on tour with were affecting us internally.
Oh.
We were almost at each other's throats with the people that we were hanging out with.
No kidding.
It was just So as soon as we got home, decompressed, came back, and we all just kind of knew right away. It's like we're never going out with them again.
Wow.
Ever again, because just the stuff that
It can be infectious, yeah.
Yeah, it
So it almost
The
almost
energy of
pinned
it
you guys
was
against each
not
other,
good.
huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because look, I mean, you want the glorified. Hey, here's the big tour bus, and there's, everything for you, and somebody does this, and somebody takes care of this, and you got, it ain't like that when you're starting out. You're paying your dues, you're earning it. So you are literally living in and out of each other's pockets, trying to make it all happen. You know, and I have no problem telling everybody we spent a solid year, 50,000 miles running around in the U.S. in a 40 Econoline van or various 15-passenger 40 Econoline vans in a U-Haul trailer.
What
The
year was
struggle
that?
is real.
09, 08.
Yeah.
I remember at 2 in the morning waking up in Pennsylvania, and it was in the summer, and we were in a truck stop, and we had pulled off, and it's 2 in the morning, and I'm just like, I can't sleep. And this, I wasn't driving at all. I'd always find some excuse like, I'm way too tired, I'm way too drunk.
Yeah.
But now it's like 2 in the morning, and we have to be in New York in like 9 hours, and we're already in Pennsylvania, but it's 2 in the morning, and I'm just bored out of my mind. I can't sleep anymore. Fuck it. Turn on the van and just start driving. They'll wake up like, holy crap.
I recall a different story. I was driving, and I was so exhausted, and Shane was the only one who wasn't driving. So I go, dude, you have to drive, man. I'm so tired. I cannot drive
Well,
anymore.
no, because you and I got up and we went into the.
I was so exhausted because I was just tired.
I know we were
I
stopped.
took a ton of
5-hour energy
I took
drinks.
I took a backpack.
You should have bought
of
fucking
5-hour
stock.
energies, rock stars. So I was drinking coffee, rock stars, and 5-hour energies, and I was still falling asleep.
Oh my God! Were you
But-
starting to
but
see
Shane,
stuff?
Shane went from like novice to like professional because he drove us all the way into
Lincoln
Times
Tunnel.
Square, and Times Square is the hardest place to drive. He
there
was
was,
I
like,
was
all
dude,
these-
you're
there's
doing good.
all these taxis honking in the Lincoln Tunnel, and all I'm saying is like rolling down the windows like, I'm in a fucking van. You're in a taxi. I win.
You know,
Don't hear him say that.
after that Times Square ride, he became a champ, and he was
Told
a pro.
bro.
He was like, "Oh, no worries."
So did the Econoline break down at all? Were there any car problems?
The van never broke down. The trailer had a couple issues.
What do you mean?
The lock froze
The-
one time. We had to get someone to snap it off.
Then there was a wheel issue, and then we did have to take it. We did have to take it for an oil change at one point. We're somewhere, I don't know, Indiana or something. We need to get an oil change. I did learn in New York that that Dwayne's scared of heights.
No way. How did you find that out?
There is a bridge where the lane is actually on the outside of the bridge. And where, a truss bridge,
Oh.
you've got all this like big, huge steel surrounding you when you're on the inside lanes. There's 2 lanes on the outside of that. And he's in the passenger seat, and I'm driving, and I'm just like driving like, and I wine-handed, and I'm listening to this radio. I was like, hey, Dwayne, Dwayne, are you all right? And he's like, just get me off this fucking bridge, dude. I will laugh and joke with you once we're off this
The
bridge. Just get
fearless
me off the
street
bridge.
leader.
I must have been asleep because I would have been the same way.
Funny you mentioned sleep. Between Shane and Al, I'm not sure how the story came about, but if we're gonna go down memory lane about some road stories, okay. I woke up to Shane driving, which hadn't happened at all on the tour.
Oh.
I was
Use
nicknamed.
some Jedi mind.
What?
I was nicknamed Rip Van Winkle because I was always asleep in the van. I was just out.
Oh yeah.
Well,
But when the first run started,
yeah.
Brian and I are getting the stuff together. We're down in Temecula and we're coming up this way. I'll never forget. We went to pick up Al.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie was the singer, so you get the idea that, and you got to remember. So first of all, when people ask me how we managed to be a band for 10 years and what they should do, I can't tell you what you should do, but I can tell you what we did.
Yeah.
The first thing I tell people is here's what you ought to do. Whether it's 4, 5, 6, however many people are in your band, put it in a van in a little metal tube and go down the road for
Ever.
2 months. If you can still stand to be around each other, then you have the nucleus to form a band. And, the writing of the songs and all that will come, but there's no point in writing songs with people that you can't stand to be around.
Right.
So
Yeah.
first things first, make sure you can actually stand to be around each other.
Yeah.
So in the getting to know you honeymoon phase of things,
Uh-huh.
I get to Pasadena area to pick up Singer. And we've never toured together. We're getting ready to go.
And how long? Just a few months together before you?
Yeah, because it was one of those things where we got together, decided to. They had a project. I basically pulled Alfred out of that project to do recording of a couple songs. The songs turned into tour offers, and then it was okay, we need a bass player. Let's grab Shane.
Oh
and-
shit!
and
I got a
we're off.
tour. Now I need a band.
Which is not the first time that's happened to me. But we get ready to leave on the first tour, and I go to get Alfred, and he's a generous guy. He'll give you the shirt off his back. There's lines. There's things that Alfred will do and things that Alfred won't do, and I'm learning what they are.
Yeah.
He gets to the van and hands me a bunch of 5-hour energies, and I'm like, and then goes to the back and lays down. I'm like, I know you don't think I'm driving home.
Good luck.
Home, James. Home.
You will be behind the wheel from time. I'm talking to Brian. I'm like, do you know what this fool is?
and I flipped him a silver dollar. King. And keep the radio down.
Well, here's the
please.
thing. I mean,
Buy
he's,
yourself something nice.
at the end of the day, he's the singer, man. He's got to protect his voice. He's got to sleep.
And driving has nothing to do with that. Once again, he's not the one yelling out, going, "Hey, motherfucker!"
Well, did your voice get affected with all the transportation and, I mean, just the uncomfortable sleeps?
I got sick a couple times, but yeah, there was one time we were at New Jersey and it was cold, but the temperatures and everything were constantly changing. It was cold. My voice was like completely hoarse. I'm like, shit, how am I gonna sing? How am I gonna sing tonight? And I'm like, I don't know, because it was like gone. It was like
You were
gone.
nervous in Detroit. I remember that one.
Yeah, but because I was like, how am I gonna be able to sing? Because and I started talking to the bartender owner of Dingbats, and she goes, "Oh, I got the perfect thing for you." And she gave me this thing called Bearmeister. It's like honey and Jägermeister together.
Huh.
And it worked wonders. I was
No
fucked up.
kidding.
I was gone by the time the show played. And I think it
But
works.
my voice was
But my
silky
voice,
smooth.
my voice is stellar.
How many
don't
did you have?
I don't
remember
know
what I
if that
was
was just in my
singing.
head. She just kept on giving to me, and I was like,
Did you guys ever keep any video or any of that? Do you guys have documentation of that?
Oh, there's a ton of footage out there. We've seen it
Yes.
and all that
Please
good
destroy
stuff.
Oh,
it.
good.
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 Oh, yeah.
Any behind the scenes, like off stage?
Oh, no, we don't keep that stuff.
We didn't have anybody cataloging us. Or
Yeah.
We'd rather no one know about this shit.
Yeah.
So you had to bring your drum kit with you. I mean, it wasn't like they had a back line.
Yeah. Yep.
We
Absolutely.
provided the. Are you kidding me? On all
Yeah.
those tours,
That's how we got on the tours.
Yeah.
We had to promise that we were going to drive the third band.
Uh-huh.
It was the headliners. Then
Who were the
another
headliners?
The headliner was this band.
This
no,
band.
well, I can talk about.
No, it varied because there's 5 tours.
Okay.
So it always varied. In 4 of the tours, we were always the first of 3. We were always the first of 3. Part of the agreement we had with the booking agent was we would cart band 2 in our Ford Econoline van with us. And then the trailer was where the back line was. So we were the roadies as well as the first band up because we'd show up at the venue, we'd load in, then band 2 would come in and sound check. After the headliner first would
Wow.
sound check, then band 2 would sound check, and then if there was time, we'd get a line check on our own gear. That
Oh
was
my
nice.
God.
And, then the show is over. We do the merch,
brutal.
and then as soon as that's over and it's time to close the club down, they
Break
got
down.
cars that take them to
Oh,
the
yeah, we had to-
hotels, and we were breaking down the gear and look, it is what it is, and
Of course.
we signed up for it, and it's fine. But
Yeah.
when you're in Wichita in
Detroit
in
was cold.
December,
Right.
and
it's
you
3 feet of
leave
snow.
the van running all night and just fill it up because you get to turn the heater on because there's no
that
hotel
cold.
room.
Right.
That's how we were living on those first couple tours, and it's just and then you have to drive to the hotel to pick up band 2 and pick them up and then get them to the next town.
pick
'cause
we gotta get them at the
from their beautiful hotel rooms and all that stuff while we've been freezing our ass off.
At
And
one
let's-
one time,
so-
they were magnanimous, and the second band said, "Hey, why don't you bunk with us tonight?" I was like, "Oh, awesome, thanks." And we get in there, it's like, "You can get that little corner of the floor there. and
Oh my
you
God.
can have that corner of the floor there." And Twain's like, "I got that corner."
Called dips on corners.
Let me clarify too, because the situation. What you might believe to be a beautiful hotel room, given your situation, look, dude,
It's all relative.
It was Motel 6 at Super
Yeah.
8.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
But
Which
wait,
I'm not
again,
complaining.
when you're in a van, it is a beautiful hotel room. Wait a minute, they have a door? They have pillows? Holy crap. There's a bathroom?
that
I can
running-
shower tonight.
Is that running water?
So would any of them offer to drive? Because you're saying you pick them up.
no,
I mean,
No. They were always in the back.
That was part of it. You know, we were driving them around, so it was always, you know, we were the drivers. And
I mean, to be able to do all that and still be able to perform, because you guys are a high energy band. I mean, if you guys were something like, well, I don't want to say whom, but I mean, there are bands out there that are quite sleepy. I mean,
there's no looking at the tops of our shoes when we're on stage.
Right.
Let's just say that right
Yeah,
now.
exactly.
I know how my shoes look. I'm good.
Exactly.
No, but-
We're very much about the entertainment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's
plus,
obvious.
I think you know, I think everyone would agree with me. We all genuinely like our songs, and I don't know how many times we've already played these tunes. We just enjoy playing these tunes,
Yeah.
and we enjoy, you know, performing for the audience, and we like interacting afterwards. I mean, one of the other things that happen, aside from, you know, because we have to do everything ourselves, we have to sell our own merch. So we have to break down, we have to pack up all the gear, and we have to sell our merch. We actually had a schedule. So tonight, and Al is always going to be at the merch.
Yeah.
Al's the lead singer, front
So
man,
he's at the
got to be there.
merch, gotta be there.
So always got to be there. So tonight, Brian and Shane, you guys are going to break down. Tomorrow night, Dwayne and Brian, you're going to break down. Then the other night, Dwayne, Shane, you guys are going to break down. So
Gotcha.
it's but it's difficult because Dwayne is like a Tetris champ. So I have no problem breaking down, but Dwayne needs to show us how to load all the gear in, because if I do it, we can't shut this door.
Right.
So and then none of us knows how to pack up his Brian's kit.
I figured.
So I learned real quick how to tear down, but then I'm standing there going, okay, Brian, what goes where?
So you mentioned that one of the times you had to like break open the door of the
lock
trailer?
froze where you get the key, where you put the key in to the lock to the U-Haul trailer.
So what, did you have
Couldn't
to
get it out. Yeah, we got someone to just.
And then what? Did you just bought a new lock?
Yeah.
All right, but it didn't damage
That's
the door.
how
I mean,
cold
you guys.
it was. It was.
Oh, yeah, no, it didn't damage anything.
So nothing broke down as far as the equipment or the gear.
Luckily.
No gear issues. I mean, look, we didn't take ratty gear on the road. The band sponsors. The band has endorsements, so when we go out, I had no problem saying it. I would call up Mesa and say, hey, we have this tour for 5 weeks. We're home for 3 weeks. We got another tour. They were quick to go, all right, go over to, this studio and grab gear.
Oh, cool.
So, and I got the nickname Staples Center on the first tour because, it's a club tour.
Yeah.
But I'm bringing
5 stacks.
There's
oh my God,
cabinets
dude.
all over the place. There's road cases with 2 or 3 amp heads in there.
Oh, I love it.
He's got a stack of these Mesa cabs, and so it just looks like a wall. Like, if he is Mr. Staples Center, and I'm over here rocking my 4/8s. But we know how to work on a shoestring budget, so we take care of all the gear as well.
Yeah.
Dwayne's never changed a set of strings.
No way.
No, there was like one of the first shows when we went into Utah, and I remember this. I was like shocked as hell. Something's wrong with his guitar. He's got to fix it. So
Yeah.
he's sitting there, and he's got a bolt on. All of his necks are bolt on necks. So he's unscrewing the bolts on the back with the strings on. And he takes off the bolt, and he fixes like the truss rod or something, and then proceeds to put it back on, strings intact. And then he's just shining them up, and he's tuning them up, plays it, does a little thing, some intonation, and he's good to go. He's perfect. He's like, I would never have done that. I would have been like, I gotta take these strings off, gotta do this, gotta do that. Not Dwayne. He's like, never changed the set.
Well, but see, here's the thing. I change them before we go out. But I take so many guitars when I go that I only have to use a guitar for like 2 songs a
Right.
night.
Switch it off. Right.
So, there's very little mileage on the strings by the time the tour's over.
That makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like the guitar version of a hybrid car, using 2 separate engines. Yeah. So do you guys still use the same brand of guitars as you were 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah. I'm not. I have no interest in leaving Charvel. I love them.
Yeah.
I got endorsed after the first couple of tours, so I moved from Ernie Ball to Spectre.
It's a beautiful instrument.
It is. It's very beautiful.
What do you
Would
think
you
of the?
agree?
Yeah.
Are there other
Are there-
other
are there-
basses that you
are there-
prefer? You know?
We've got a lot of options. Oh, look what we have in the studio. We've got a.
I'm not going to disparage
we've
whatever
got a-
you like, because who knows what happens in the future.
You know-
it is sounds very nice. It sounds amazing.
What are you talking about? The Music Man? Or the?
Sounds amazing. Oh, no.
Oh!
Oh, Ernie
Oh,
Ball
you mean
again.
the-
I love OLPs and Ernie Balls.
Oh,
are
you're
great.
talking about this little guy right here. The
Oh, you're-
Steinberger.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want,
Yeah.
I can talk to them for you about
Yeah,
possibly
could
endorsing you. It's a tough one, man. These
Yeah.
guys are very selective.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
trying
you
to
know
think
what?
of he's trying to think
You
of
know
a
what?
nice
We've
way to.
talked about we've talked about the bass. Let's talk about Brian's drums. Brian, your drums? Have you always been?
Have you always been with Elisis?
Have you always been with it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Is the DM5 your go-to rig?
It seems like it's not that complicated to tear down. I don't know what the big deal is, guys.
He doesn't use sticks. He uses paintbrushes. He's endorsed with Home Depot.
Yes, very much so.
Well, so you are so used to playing on a live kit. When was the last time you've had to downgrade to a kit like this one?
I think the last time I was here in the studio, I think that was the last time that I actually did play on something like this. Dude, I'm an acoustic guy. It's
Oh
that
yeah.
simple,
Oh,
so-
dude. I mean, it is your sound. So for our listeners who don't know, we actually asked the band to come in and not worry about bringing all their gear. We have stuff here, and so just to make things easier for setup and tear down, we actually have Bam Bam on an electronic kit. So it's kind of weird to see you behind one. But before we get to hearing you guys live, I want to hear what you guys are up to. I mean, I know we had you in the studio, and I know you mentioned Ditch Day. So why don't we go back to your first EP and what was that like, and then how we got to the lift.
Well, what was the recording like? And what's been been like since the release of?
How we got
Well,
to the lift.
what I'd
No,
like-
the question is how we got to the lift. Gosh, we were recording the 5-piece, and then suddenly I got a call that there was this thing about a movie going on. And
Yeah.
I was like, absolutely, why not? I have no problem with this, but it's been pretty much all Dwayne and Brian. They really put it together.
Great job putting it into Ditch Day because it's a great movie.
Brian is the network king, and so he was actually jamming with another band, and the singer from that band is married to the writer of Ditch Day, so took the demo from the recording sessions to her. She played it for her husband. Husband was like, okay, I really like this. Takes it to the producer, and next thing you know, we were like, God, it would be great if we could just get one song in a film. That would be awesome. That would be an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out that we became the featured artist for the film and all that. And so, but here's what we learned about this. The independent music business is not that different than the independent film business. There are delays. There's budgets that you need to have in order to make things happen. So there was quite a bit of time that passed between when we agreed to license the song into the film and then the film went through what it needed to go through in order to get to the point where it was finally picked up by a distributor and released.
Yeah.
So, again, part of how do you keep a band together when you know what the potential is for things as soon as you take that next step, but then there's things out of your control. And those are things that, they can break bands.
Yeah, because it can create frustration and.
And I'm quick to point out that I have I had it before, but I have just an incredible amount of respect and admiration for the guys I work with. you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Because I won't say lesser. In other bands, it would never have worked.
Yeah.
It would never have worked. That's just all there is to it.
What was the name of the song that ended up being the flagship song for Ditch
Well,
Day?
we've got 3 in there. We Are Alive, which is in the sex scene of the movie. So now
Really?
check it out.
And my favorite.
There you go.
Have you seen the movie?
Yes, I have. I have.
Love that movie.
That dude's creepy.
Very much so.
Anybody who has not seen Ditch Day, I know you can see it on. Is it Amazon?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Right? Yeah.
And it's out in 6 countries. If you are in the Midwest of the United States, it's actually in some stores now. It's on the shelves that we just found out not too recently.
Incredible.
So they keep growing in terms of what's happening with the distribution wise.
Yeah.
I keep receiving contact, whether it's email or phone calls or whatever.
Speaking of, man, you guys are great communicating with your fans.
Thanks.
That's really a great thing that you
Well,
guys
look,
do.
here's the thing. That's proven to us time and time again because, like, for example, right now it's June 5th.
Yep.
We just found out 2 days ago we were considered the band of the month for a rather large internet radio station, and,
Wow.
and we were part of five bands. It was a quote unquote battle of the bands over a 10-day period. But
Yeah.
all I do when I get notifications about things like that is I put it online to the fans and say, hey, I need you guys to call in, vote,
Do your
or
thing.
text, do whatever.
Yeah.
And the band then shares it, so that helps it to grow. Everybody in the band is on social media now and does their part. And then I get phone calls or texts or emails from the station managers of these places. They're and yep, you guys completely slaughtered everybody else that was involved. My
What
favorite,
support, man? Great.
we were doing for 5 weeks in a row. We were involved with there's a DJ who has a podcast and it's pretty big and he's doing his thing and he's like, you know what, I've got it's not a battle of the bands because every band says they're great, this, that, and the other. It's a battle of the fans.
Huh.
So I want to know what your fans are about. Everybody says they got fans. Let's find out. So he for 5 weeks he put us up against another act, and for 4 of those weeks, another independent, unsigned band. It was like, oh, okay, and he hit me up after the voting period. It's like a Thursday to Thursday. He'd hit me up on Friday morning and be like, well, that was a 700-to-1 ratio. You guys slaughtered him
Oh
here.
my God.
You slaughtered him there. And you notice in this interview so far, we've been very, very careful not to mention other bands. And I'm going to break that mode here because this is a moment where I'm going to tip my hat to our fan base, which is the Swirl Society, because we were put against a very popular band right now on the rise called From Ashes to New. And they have a song called Crazy. And our song, The Lift, was pitted against their song From Ashes to New, or their song Crazy from this band From Ashes to New. And during the week-long call-in, text-in voting process, that band was playing Rock on the Range. That band was playing Carolina Rebellion.
Wow.
And our fans took them down anyway.
Good, man. David versus Goliath.
So when people say, God, nobody knows who you guys are, and this, there's no truth to
That's
that.
not true.
Our fans are way too vocal and supportive for anybody to say that. So, and everybody in the band here understands, respects that, and appreciates it. We're always quick to point out, as Shane had said, it's paramount to us. So when we get off stage, it's hey man, we got to make sure we're with
Absolutely.
our people. We're with our people. And,
I will
even-
never forget that during that 5-week voting thing, Dwayne calls me and he's just laughing, and I go, what's wrong? And I go, what's happening? And he goes, dude, the Swirl fans, they crashed the server. And I go, are you serious? He goes, yeah. He goes, they crashed the server, and he said, so it's over with. I mean, it's supposed to be from a Thursday to a Thursday. And it was only 2 days in, and the guy just said, he goes, this is unbelievable. And he goes, you guys have crashed the server. He goes, the other band has no chance. So we're just gonna, let it fizz out for the next. You already won. Let's let it fizz out for the next.
Let it go,
3
dude.
days, and then we'll get you back up, and we'll have you go against somebody else.
Wow.
I just fell in love. I was like, wow, that is insane.
Must feel great to have that kind of support. I mean, you
And
guys
when
have
you-
certainly earned it.
And when you think about like going back to when we started and we were going out and Dwayne said we weren't getting funding, we weren't being paid to go out. We need to do this and this and this in order to go out. The way we got from gig to gig was we had to go out with our CDs to these people after we were done going, hey, what'd you think of us? Hey, what'd you think of us? Hey, would you like to buy this? Hey, would you like to get this? Hey,
Good
would you like
job.
to do this? You know what, you can give you a CD and a poster and a shirt for this much and this. And so we're going out actively trying to find them.
Amazing.
And as time progresses, now we get asked to go play the whiskey, and then we're done with our set, drop off the gear, go upstairs, try to decompress, and now
That's
you got
kind of
them,
nice.
hey,
Yeah.
I really liked how you sound, and I like this, I like that. You
So it's
guys
more
are really
reactive
cool.
than
So,
proactive, which
yeah,
is
so
much more comforting.
But in the entire time, it's just been really cool to see that start having more people come up to us, and even if it seems like awkward,
Yeah.
like someone just wants to tell you that you guys were really good, and
Yeah.
then that's it. And then we're standing here going, "What's your name? What do you listen to? What are you into? Did you come here to see us?" And then they're like, "I didn't know you were going to ask me these." I
Throws
just
them
wanna-
off.
All I knew was tell you guys that I really liked you. like, oh man, now I'm hanging out with this. It's like, yeah, absolutely, hang out with us, man.
Oh
We're-
yeah, they'll never forget something like
Yeah.
that.
Say it all the time, man. I see myself every day. I know about me. What I need to know is about you.
Well put. Well, we do want to know about you guys. So, I mean, best way to know about how you guys tick is maybe we can hear you guys play a song. I want to hear something off of Ditch Day.
See if I remember this.
got your boots, you got the suits, the attitude, and from the outside, all the right moves. House on the hill, another shot, another pill. Whatever it takes just to make it through the day. Handcuffed in gold, you've been bought, you've been sold. Can't complain for the money you slaved. Sometimes we fall, sometimes lose our way. It's time for you to rise. Set your sights on your new life. Escape your demons in the parasites. Tear off the blindfold, see the world with new eyes. We gotta rise up to the top, and we ain't gonna stop till the wheels fall off. We gotta take back what we are. We're the kings and the queens of this world. Time to take back. A beauty queen from 17, chasing dragons for the Hollywood dream. She's a fiend. 18 gone by, now 35. Spends her nights on the streets and her days getting high. Handcuffed to the rush, needle drips. No love for herself, only love for the drugs. Sometimes we fall, sometimes lose our way. It's time for you to rise. Set your sights on your new life. Escape your demons and the parasites. Tear off the blindfold, see the world with new eyes. We gotta rise up to the top, and we ain't gonna stop till the wheels fall off. We gotta take back what we own. We're the kings and the queens of this world. Rise up to the top, and we ain't gonna stop till the wheels fall off. We gotta take back what we own. We're the kings and the queens of this world. Go on, take back your throne. To the top, and we ain't gonna stop till the wheels fall off. We gotta take back what we own. We're the kings and the queens of this world. Rise up to the top, and we ain't gonna stop till the wheels fall off. We gotta take back what we own. We're the kings and the queens of this world. Rise up to the top. Yeah, I can hear you. Rise up.
Yeah! Yeah! Electric, man.
Just tell me stories.
Uh,
That song live about 7, 8 months ago, maybe. We got together and we were getting ready for a show, and I had an idea. We had this situation where we would do this one. We would do a spell, I think, and in the middle of it, we'd start, saying, "This is Dwayne, this is Shane, this is
Yeah.
so." And then I was like getting tired of it. I was like, "Can we do that on this song? Because I want to do this, or I want to do that." And we started doing this this middle part because we started getting a little bit more popular. And so I want to do this thing where it was like after the solo, I want to bring it down and just be like, doing this just a bass line,
Right.
and then I want Al to be like, I want everybody to say rise up. All right, that wasn't good enough. We're gonna do it one more time. And in the middle of play, and then now we've been doing that for like the last 8 months. And so now in the middle of it, I was like, oh shit. like,
We're doing the live version here, and this ain't the live version.
Amazing.
How does the studio record go?
Exactly.
again?
Like how did the recording one go? Did we go right back into the shit?
Can we fly in some Rise Up chants? But here's the great thing about it, playing that song live now. It's on top of the success of the lift. It's created a situation in the middle of the set because we have those two songs back to back. That call and response of Rise Up gets pretty loud.
I can only imagine.
Which is very rewarding.
Dude, and I mean, with your soaring vocals, man, it's great how you really take command of those vocals. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And the walking bass line, big fan. I'm a bass player myself, so that over that solo.
Oh, really? What kind of bass do you play there?
Well, if you happen to ask, I play this one brand that has the best pickups on the planet.
Ever.
You might,
It's got
if
a
you want.
headshot
Hey,
D2.
listen, maybe the next song
I know what you're
could.
thinking, but you can't have it.
I mean, you're more than welcome to play it on the next song, dude. I mean, it's up to you.
know what?
I
As much as I try, I just can't bring myself to do it.
Shane would absolutely love to do that, but
We
the
ha-
endorsement situation prevents him from being able to do
Yes.
that.
so I can't take a picture of you playing the Steinberger and just
You
blast
can take
it
all the pictures you want. If you blast it, we have problems.
for more than one reason.
That is not Shane. That is my brother Sean. He likes Steinberger, so.
Well, let's move on
And
to
cheeseburgers.
the lift because
cheeseburgers.
I know a lot of our listeners, they're Granted Records fans, and so they've been very much in tune with what's been going on. And you guys were the first. They've been
Great.
so they knew how we'd started, and you guys came in probably on our third week since opening, and you guys obviously were our first band coming in and producing. So they hold you guys very near and dear to their hearts. So I think this is probably going to be their favorite episode because they don't.
Excellent.
Yeah, because all they
Great
know.
experience. Thank you.
Well, all they know really is the song, and I think it'd be great to kind of lend some background as to what happened even prior to Granted being part of you guys' story. I mean, how did the lift come about?
Well, we just played Rise Up from Ditch Day, which the producer of Ditch Day hit up. She gave me a call actually, and she says, "Hey, so I just met a studio owner, and he's looking for a rock band to record. He wants a rock band to record." And we were at a point where, with the release of the Swirl EP and the release of the movie, we had done a full year of promotion. And so we were all kind of like, all right, this is cool. We want to add to, we want to move on.
More, please.
We want to, more. We want to record some new material, we're writing stuff, and we want to, take the next step.
Yeah.
After you spend a year working on things,
Yeah.
The same things, you go, all right, time to move on. So just the timing of it was very interesting. Brian and I ended up coming up and meeting, sitting at Granted Records and meeting you and Tim. Great meeting.
Yeah.
Great meeting.
It was.
Resulted in a phone call to the rest of the guys. I think we found the place where we're going to do it at, and we're going to do it differently than we have done it in the past in terms of coming here and doing a pre-production session, with people that you don't know, and so, God, do we really need to rehearse this in front of people and this, that, and the other, and, what are they like, and are we going to be able to get along, and because, you get comfortable in the way you like to do things,
Yeah.
but, growth comes from getting outside that comfort zone.
Totally.
So it just, as a matter of fact, I was talking to Megan Waters, the owner of Water Tree Media, the producer of Ditch Day, and I was just talking to her a couple days ago. She was giving me updates on what was happening with the film, but all conversations go back to you, and the experience here. So it's just been amazing, and and are you kidding me? It wasn't that much time here doing the recording to walk out with what we left here with.
What a
there
record,
was-
man. What
there
a
was a good
song.
amount of
Or
time.
stellar, right?
Stellar.
Stellar.
There was a good amount of time prior to this where we were coming up with the song, which
Yeah.
was just a really cool process, very organic. Dwayne had some ideas. Like, Dwayne gives me a call and was like, we got to put a song together because we got this opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely, I got a bunch of ideas. I go, all right, well, we'll come in and we'll listen to them because I got some ideas too. And it was like, I got these. No. I got this one.
Yeah.
No, not so much. I got this one. That's good, but not right now.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, let's see what you got. So it felt a lot more like how we came up with We Are Alive, because they had some ideas, and then I started adding some more ideas underneath it.
Yeah.
One of the funnier parts was the lift. When you hear it, the chorus was what Dwayne thought the verse should be. And as soon as Al and I heard it, it was almost in unison. Al and I were like, nah, that should be the chorus.
Oh.
No, I really think it should be the verse. No, and Dwayne's very open, like, let's flesh it out. Let's see what you got. See
Cool.
what you got. So
Yeah.
it was really cool writing that, and then to come in here and,
I love that camaraderie, man, where you guys are able to trust each other's opinions.
no one in this band is ever going to say no.
Yeah.
Let's work on it.
Oh,
Let's
that's
at
cool.
least try it out first.
That's a big thing for us is we don't throw out the idea until we've tried it to see whether or not it works.
Yeah.
You don't hear nobody says, "Hey, what do you think of this?" Nah, and we move on.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
let's work it out. Explain your idea, let's communicate it, let's get it worked up and then go from there.
Yeah.
One of the great things that's a little bit different about the lift compared to the other songs we've written is, I'll pretty much come in with an idea of what I want, and then I sit down with Brian and we work on the arrangement.
Yeah.
And then bring it to Al and Shane, and then they go from there. And Shane's brilliant at coming up with not only the bass lines like you had talked about, but there's so many times that he'll come up with a part,
Yeah.
and he'll say, "Hey, man, I was listening to it and I was thinking this," or how about if you take what exists and we just tweak it a little bit like this, and it just elevates the entire thing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the process for like the 5 songs that are part of that 7-song Swirl EP.
Yeah.
We started down that road on the lift, but I got together and worked on the arrangement with Brian. I walk in and pretty quickly on, Alfred decides, "Hey man, we need to get together and work on this thing a little bit too." And he changes up a little of what's happening with the verses to accommodate the vocal line that he's working with.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the first time that, I think it's fair to say, it's the first time he kind of got involved in the instrumentation side of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that he didn't weigh in on it before. I'm certainly not trying to say that, but he got more
More of a
into
commanding role.
Yeah. Hey man, like the intro.
Yeah.
The intro for the lift was Al's idea.
Yeah.
The way the verse chording goes, the structure for the verses was Al.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But it's funny that you not funny. It's good that you picked up on it. There's a lot of sincerity and trust, and everybody believes and wants what's best for the song. And
Right.
at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's always what's the best thing for the song.
Well, because there are bands that have members that have their own agendas that they want their parts heard more or, to be featured more, but you guys don't feel like there is that push and pull.
I never have a problem with that. It's like,
There-
hey, go ahead, play, man. Play louder.
There is a little bit of that. because,
I'll
I mean,
wait
I
to
get to
sing.
chill.
I can wait to sing. No, let's do
No,
another 5 bars. I'll sing later. No, that's cool.
Well, I mean, look, you do have 4 guys that are creative and are passionate about their craft. So there's going to be that space in a song where you have 4 guys plus your producer, now it's 5, that have an idea of what should be there. And very rarely those ideas are all going to be the same.
Yeah.
So again, you end up testing them all out, and then okay, now it wasn't your idea, but what's best for the song? Case in point, it's fair to say that we got all the recording done, and yourself, me, and Al worked on the mix.
Yep.
And got to the point where we thought, okay, this thing is done and it's really good and we really like it, and then brought the rhythm section in to hear what was going on, and we're like, see, we got a home run here. This is great. And it's another Shane moment. He
Yeah.
was like, it's good, but I'm not with you guys on the excitement level yet.
Right.
And then he goes with you, which, again, part of you being completely gracious about things. Because for those listening, make no mistake about it, we are very meticulous. And when I say we try all ideas, it's not like we only have 2 ideas and then we work those up. We throw out ideas and add emo to it. There's a ton of ideas floating around. So that leads to hours and hours and hours and late nights working on this song.
Your patience was
Very much so. Very much so. He's
I was even
amazingly
going, man,
patient.
I hope he's okay with, we're trying this. It's
When-
like wee hours. And we're like, oh, guys.
Well, when you love a song like The Lift, man, it was easy.
So it's one of those things where, then you go back in to where we thought we had a final mix, and you sit down with Shane and work on it some more. And I'll be the first to say now when I do interviews on it, I'm like, hey, it's another one of those Shane moments where Shane saved the song. Because when it was done, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sold. Matter of fact, I think there was a division in the band of sorts because, we thought the original mix that we had was going to be the one. Then there's what we dubbed the Shane mix, or I dubbed the Shane mix. And so I wasn't sure, so I'm sending it off to radio. And I'm sending the song in 2 different versions to radio. And they are overwhelmingly coming back with the Shane mix. And it's like, you know what? I guess that's the one then.
Yeah.
So now
amazing.
we just run with it.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's not little thing, we were in there working on the song right before we came in to start recording it, and I wasn't really thrilled with the intro. I mean, the intro was good, but then there was a section right after the intro before the vocals kick in, and I'm like, I kind of want to do this, but I'm not really sure. And for the sake of this song being kind of it is, maybe we'll just mellow it out. And Shane was like, no, rock it out there.
Yeah.
Oh. Now it sounds like a Swirl song.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will never forget that because when Shane said that, it was really cool because I remember looking at Dwayne, and as soon as we played the part, I looked at Dwayne and I was like, and I said, that's it. And Dwayne's exact words were, okay, now this sounds like Swirl.
Yeah.
And now
totally.
it's a Swirl song.
And I was like, and I go, there it is. I go, and that, look, what Alfred creates when it comes to the lyrics and all that stuff, it is incredible. But I think that's what makes this band as unique as it is. Because look, I don't come to the table, me being the drummer, I don't come to the table with chordal stuff and know all of that. What I do have is an ear to listen to arrangements and to hear parts and how to put stuff together and all of that. And then as a failed guitarist, it's funny, I don't know how to play guitar, but I can hear things.
Sure.
And I can sing those things to Dwayne and he'll try it. And so, when you put everybody's individual bases together like that, it's insane. It is
How it comes
so
together.
cool because Shane is always notorious for coming in with that one part that makes you say, fuck, that's it.
Yeah,
That, dude,
right.
that's
The
it.
final
That's what
piece.
just made it.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah,
You
I
guys
remember
can't
that.
see it, but my head is so fucking huge right now.
it's just cool. And me being the drummer and kind of, as always, sitting back and kind of looking at it and seeing how it's all being pieced together,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal.
It's a marvel to see. Yeah.
No, it really is.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing for me about listening to this song. I can listen to this song and I can hear everybody's input
Yeah. Yeah.
throughout the song. It
It's-
isn't like, well, we're playing this song that Shane or that I came in and everybody
Yeah.
learned their parts and just now
Yeah.
we're doing it.
Yeah.
It's we all created this one together, which I think probably has a little bit to do with why it's had the amazing amount of success that it has.
So many nuggets in there, man. So many beautiful parts. Even the stuff that like that stuff, man.
You'll
like,
hear that part in a second when we play it.
Oh my god, it's so. I mean, there's so many things you can listen. It's like if you listen to it 20 times, there's 20 things you'll hear every time you listen
Ear
to it.
candy.
But
Yeah.
I got to take a moment to thank Emo Man because melodies, lyrics, okay, no problem. Harmonies, that was like my kryptonite. And I was like, can't you just like do it in post, do it?
No way.
Layer that
I
shit? He's like-
refused.
You're like, no. And I was like,
I believed in you, man.
Harmonies were always like my, gosh, I was always terrible at harmonies.
You
but,
slayed it,
you-
man.
You helped me all the way through that, man.
We thought
Thank
Emo
you.
was going to do the harmony.
I know. I was
We
like,
thought Emo was going to
for a
do
second
all
there, when I
harmony.
was in
Emo,
there and they kept
there's
singing,
the
I was like,
microphone.
Emo, get your butt in here.
You just show me which
refuse.
button to hit record. You go in the closet and you
Yeah.
sing that part.
Well, no, because he's sitting there
you
singing
got
the
pro-
line, like, here's the harmony line, sing it like this. And we're like, we'll just record that and move on, man. What are you doing?
No, with a tone like Alfred, you want 3 of Alfred, and I mean that's what made it kick. If I was on there, it would have sounded completely different.
Well, I'm going to
It
turn the
wouldn't sound like
tables on
Swirl.
you, Emo. What's your preference? Because this is something that some friends of mine will usually talk about. It will always come up. What's your preference when you listen to a recorded album? Is your preference everybody who's in the band singing in the band, or is your preference have the singer do all the parts? The other singers, the other people in the band, they can do it live.
Right. If it's the singer, I'll have him harmonize with himself. But if there's multiple singers, I love hearing multiple different singers. Aside from McCartney and Lennon and Staley and Cantrell, I don't like hearing 2 to.
Who are those?
Google it. Yeah, for those kids out there, Staley's dead.
So, but what I do love hearing is two different singers sing opposite each other, or kind of like an echo kind of thing. So yeah, so a little bit of both. But I don't like to hear people harmonizing with each other unless it's live. Of course. What I hate is I'll hear harmonies on a record and I'll go watch them live and it's just the one guy singing.
Yeah, where the harmonies on the record.
Yeah.
Well, I got to give you props too, because I think you were the one had the idea when we came in and we were playing the chorus, and you were just like, "Holy shit, that bass line, that's dope." But then you had the idea, and how about we put the guitar
Going up.
ascending?
Yeah,
So,
that was
again,
brilliant.
like, it's not just
That
the
was
band coming up with
brilliant.
ideas for this song. You had a lot of input to add to the song, not just tweaking knobs and dials and stuff.
Excellent,
You were like,
yeah.
put that part in there, put that
producing.
part in there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean that should be yeah.
Is that what it's called?
And then, and then I kept hearing that "You Lift Me Up" going into the chorus. If you remember that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, certainly.
Yeah, that was my only two contributions. I mean, the rest is you guys. So can we hear it? I know the listeners have heard the song, but after we hear the song, I want to talk about what the lift has done for you guys.
Okay.
It's lifted us.
So, ladies and gentlemen, listeners for Granted Radio, by Swirl, here it is, the lift.
I was lost at sea, metaphorically. The waves were crashing on me. I felt so alone, always on my own. A heart and soul with no home. I was up, I was down, running all over town, searching for what I've never known. Till one day, through the dark of the night, shone a light on the face that would show me the way. You lift me up when I was down and out. You made me take a look at myself, figured out. You helped me to see all the things that I could be. That's what you do to me. Now I'm free. You took hold of me, unfolded disbelief, unlocked my mind with your key. You enlightened me, solved the mystery of living life with the free. Now I walk in the sun with the light in my eyes. I never felt so alive. In a twist of fate, you were taken away, but your words will always stay with me. You lift me up when I was down and out. You made me take a look at myself. I figured out. You helped me to see all the things that I could be. That's what you're doing to me. Now I'm free. Thank you, Emo and Granted Records, for having us. We are Swirl. This is a lift. You lift me up when I was down and out. You made me take a look at myself. I figured out. You helped me to see all the things that I could be. That's what you're doing to me. Now I'm free. figured out. You know, all the things that I could be. That's what you're doing to me. You're free to do to me what you do. To do to me what you do. What you do to me what you do.
Yeah!
Come on.
Man, that still gets me emotional.
Sorry, cut the end
Oh.
off.
Dude, you
I was
killed
like,
it.
my throat is dry.
Singing along.
He slayed
My
it.
throat is dry.
All right, so you guys released the song, and the reception has been great. You guys have been doing great online. What else has taken form for the band thanks to Lift?
Well, let's see. It's out in over 30 countries.
We're signed
It's-
now?
Yeah, it led to a record deal for the band after
Amazing, man.
all of those years of
Ama-
of pushing and you just never know. You never know. So the song
Big weight lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah, very much so. You know, the reality of it is that for the first 22 weeks of this year, the song has been in the top 6 every week.
Wow.
Every week. And, you know, because we keep sending you guys the reports and all the updates and all that. I mean, at least 7 or 8 of those weeks, it's been the #1 song.
Makes my day every time I get those.
You know, we've debuted at number 13 in Scotland. We peaked at number 4 in Australia.
Amazing.
You know,
Amazing,
like
man.
I said, it's on the way. This is something you don't know.
Yeah.
On the way in tonight, I was doing a station ID because the track is now going to be in Jordan on the radio there.
You're kidding me,
I
dude!
thought you'd get a kick out
Oh
of that
my
one.
God! Our listeners
So-
from Jordan, if you're hearing that, request the Lift now.
Yeah, Radio Jordan. I think it's
Oh.
96.3 over there.
Yes.
Have the name of-
96.3?
Yeah.
Yes, of course, dude.
Yeah.
I know people there.
Okay, yeah, they have the track already. They got it today.
Oh my God, dude! I'll
So-
call in myself. My
Yeah.
God.
So
Do
it's-
they need to let them know that a Jordanian helped?
That's what I'm saying.
produced
You know,
it.
we can.
I'll
you know,
call it in. I'll call it
Let
in.
them know.
Yeah.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, you know, look, we're not hiding that like anything. I mean, you know,
If anything, that'll like give you guys a huge boost over
you're
there.
very much a part of our story. So I mean, you know, like I said, we're not doing anything to hide that. So you know, you can't listen. You can't not listen to that song. You can find it on YouTube and you read. You know, you do the
We see it,
interviews, and
man.
your name is all over.
You've been
you know,
so
the song.
gracious with that. Well, thank
So,
you for that.
You just
And-
walk away listening to the sound going, that sounds very Jordanian. How did 2 black guys, a white guy, and a Mexican make something so Jordanian? Well, that's how Jordan came about. 2 black guys, a white guy, and a Mexican.
That's probably what you get when you mix them together. Right? That's funny. Congratulations, man. Yeah, to make it into such a unique country like Jordan, that's a feat. So what's next? Where do you guys see yourselves in the next 6 months, and then where do you guys see yourselves in the next 3 years?
We'll be on tour. We're going on the road. It's time. I mean, with the film and then with this song.
Yeah.
You know, and all the different places that it's going to.
Yeah.
We've got, you know, the label is now looking at putting together some tour stuff, so we'll be out probably for the summer, and then, you know, anywhere and everywhere. I mean, I've always said Swirl only needs 2 things: electricity and interest. If you have those 2 things,
You're
then
there.
We'll be there.
That's amazing.
So after that, and you know, given the way that the music industry works nowadays, I mean, it's hard to say after that, but no, well, in the middle of it,
Yeah.
you know, we'll write and we'll track new songs and we'll continue to license and place them. That's a big deal for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Matter of fact, a little breaking news for half of the band. Time to Fly got licensed into an upcoming MMA FC event.
Dude,
Sweet.
I'm the half that didn't know about that. That's breaking news.
I'm the other half too.
There's a lot of things going on placement-wise where the deals aren't done, but it's gonna be impossible to not know about this band in varied genres of film or sports or wherever. I mean, we got real lucky. Oh, I don't know if we got lucky. What we managed to do was write a batch of songs that connect with a lot of people
Yeah.
in various entertainment fields.
Yeah.
So it's not at all out of the realm of possibility that we will be appearing in film, TV, sporting events, and commercials by the end of the year.
Nobody deserves
All
it more
of
than
us.
you guys. You guys
All
have
of
put in the
us.
work. I mean, anybody who's listening to this podcast probably just got a blip of the effort you guys have put in to really make this thing a reality.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. It's shameless plug time. It's very easy to find. It is swirltheband.com. SWIRLTHEBAND. It all starts from there. You go to the website. You can, from there, whatever your preference is, your social media preference. If you're like one of those Twitter people, then
Yep.
the Twitter is Swirl the Band. The Facebook is Swirl the Band. The SoundCloud. There's a link there. The YouTube. There's a link there. You asked about if there's footage from previous shows or previous tours or whatever.
Yeah. It's all over YouTube.
There's content galore. You just come check it out, hang out, and we do run our own social media sites. We do communicate. If you send an email to swirltheband@gmail.com, you're going to get a response from somebody in the band.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You guys have been
you know.
great about that. And I mean, one of the 13,000 likes you guys have on Facebook?
Yeah,
now?
our Facebook is like over 13, easily 13,000.
Yeah.
You know.
So be part of that, man. Be part of the Swirl Society, listeners. These guys are the real deal, and not only that, but they're human. You find a lot of musicians that get to where they are, and their heads are in the clouds, and they just forget where they came from. But you guys have always kept your feet on the ground and stayed true to your fans.
Well, what's funny to me about that is you always have these people, or at least it's been my experience. I think Brian's been around me a lot when this happens, and I know from Shane, he's talked to me about it too. Perception is everything.
Yeah.
Perception is everything, because there are people that will approach us and be like, "Oh my God, you've done this and you've done this and this is great and it must be so incredible," and it's so nowhere near what the goal was. So
Yeah.
I don't have time to pat myself on the back because I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet.
Yeah.
But
That's a great thing to have.
I'm all
we're going-
about,
You go back to 2 hours in the 2 hours of the conversation where the same people are saying the same. Oh, you're living the dream, and we're all thinking to ourselves, the dream is 4 of us in a van in the middle of the night trying to keep warm by cranking the heater.
The dream is the hotel
we are
room.
not there yet.
might be your dream.
Running water, wood.
Sink showers on tour.
Shower and a pot of coffee. Yes, I would appreciate those things.
Oh my God.
Continental breakfast.
A shower would be a wet dream. Oh.
See what he did there, folks? He's got jokes.
So what do you guys have as far as parting words, words of advice for any musician who just wants to kind of get started along the same path that you guys started off years ago?
I don't advise, because there's no one way to do it. I think if there was one way to do it, there would be a book, and Gene Simmons would probably own the rights to it. So
Who's Gene Simmons for the kids
Google
out
him.
there?
so look, be passionate, be committed. Understand this. In most cases, it's gonna take a lot more effort and a lot more work and a lot more time than you thought it was going to.
Yeah.
It's going to test your patience, and it's going to test how this thing is going to test how bad you want it.
Yeah.
If it really is that important to you, you'll stick it out and you'll make it happen. Now, and if it isn't, there's no shame in that. So, be true to yourself, I guess, at the end of the day.
It's great advice.
Simple.
And for those out there who are friends of bands, families of bands, don't go negative, man. Don't be like, you can't do that, you can't do this. Don't think about that. Just, be encouraging. Don't think why. Think why not.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. But always ask that question. Is it worth it?
I would think you should already know. You shouldn't have to ask that
That's what
question.
I'm saying.
If
You
you're
be
going to make
committed.
it,
Yeah.
there shouldn't be a question, is it worth it? It should
Yeah.
be, this is what I want to do. I mean, I was talking
If
with
you're waiting for somebody to tell you whether or not it's worth it, then you probably don't want it bad enough.
I was talking with a friend of mine, and I was telling him musicians live in a different world.
True.
There's something about music and playing the music and being within the musical world where the world is different to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's different from anything else in commerce. So we live
Yeah.
a different way. So there's no real question.
Especially because the reality of it is there is no commerce for a lot of the time. So if you're doing this for the money, don't do it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're doing this without the money.
Yeah.
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 So the money's coming. Okay, let's be realistic. There's a very strong chance of that for us. And
Yeah.
but that's not because we didn't do the work. But we did the work when there wasn't any.
Right.
So you earn it, and you're gonna think you should have it long before it gets to you. So how committed are you?
Well, as much as you guys think.
10 years we've been doing this on the road. I thought I deserved it 9 years ago.
Well, it shows how humble you guys are, and feeling like you guys still have so much more things to accomplish. But you guys have really accomplished a lot, and you guys should really be proud of how far you guys have come. I know we're very proud to be part of your story, and believe me when I say that you guys are a huge part of our story. And I thank you for you guys trusting us and for being our awesome guests here tonight.
Hey, well,
Absolutely,
just remember,
thank you.
man, we're only getting started.
Oh, I
with
started
you,
to
so-
say absolutely.
We're not done with you yet, sir.
Yes!
The lift is not like a one and done with us as far
Does
as
it
working
lift 1,
together.
2, 3, 4, and 5?
Yeah!
It's like Rambo.
Oh,
I'm gonna license that too.
Or the wall. Jordan, I got an idea. Do something with it. Go.
Friday the 13th.
well, listeners, you guys know where to go. swirltheband@gmail.com is how you can get in touch with them. Go to their Facebook, go to their Instagram. They're all over Spotify. Every streaming service you can think of, you can find their music there. But more importantly, tell your friends about these guys. Share their music.
Just recommend it to 3 people on your left. That's all I ask.
I love that.
Or to the right.
All right. No,
Or to the
right doesn't work.
If there's no one on your left, go to the right. Now someone will be there. Maybe you're the last person on the bench at the bus stop, and you can't look to the left. Nope, no one there.
Guys, it's been a true pleasure. It's good to see you guys again. And
Good to be seen.
hopefully it won't be another 6 months before we see each other again.
No. I got like I said, I got a bunch of ideas. All the ideas that I brought in, and everyone was like, nope. Now it's time
Now
to do
it's
the next
time.
one. So.
Looking forward to it.
I have no problem telling you, man. I think within the next 6 months we'll have quite a few updates to give you. Yeah.
Cool.
I think there'll be quite a few updates. So we'll be in here again.
Awesome, man. Look forward to having you guys back. All right.
And we will be back.
Radio, man. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Take
Thanks,
care,
Emo.
guys. Take care.
Thank you.